It's the Michigan Football Report, our first episode after the disappointing bowl game loss to Alabama. Going to start the show with a very interesting video from Ambry Thomas where he discusses some of the leadership issues that the 2019 Michigan football team has. Let's take a listen here from Ambry Thomas.
Going into next year, I see what we really have to work on and what has to be brought to light. Like everyone has to get held accountable on their mistakes, and that's something like we really didn't do this year. When somebody mess up, we usually say, okay, next play, and we never get back to it. But everyone has to be held accountable, and next season, that's just something like we really have to emphasize.
You heard the words there. Michigan starting cornerback Ambry Thomas, indicating also that he's coming back next season. I think there was a small question whether or not he'd return to the program or go to the NFL draft. That seems to be a pretty damning comment to me about the leadership issues of the Michigan football players, the seniors, the captains, and most importantly, the staff. You're watching the Michigan Football Report. We got that story and more Michigan football news and rumors coming up right now. You know, ironically, in that clip that we cut down to what Ambry Thomas said, the prior video segment was a little bit of Josh Metellus talking about the Michigan defense expecting Alabama to get big plays in the passing game. And from my perspective, if you go into a game just expecting to give up big passing plays, Josh Metellus, I don't know if there's anyone in Michigan football history that Michigan fans have seen more of the back of his jersey on defense than Mr. Josh Metellus, giving up long touchdown pass after long touchdown pass in Michigan's biggest games over the past 3 seasons. I'm going to give this one 4 Harbaugh heads. You could even maybe indicate, was Ambry Thomas talking about his secondary mate, his teammate back there in the secondary, the starting safety, Josh Metellus. Could be the wide receivers, could be a offensive lineman or two, maybe one that went pro. I am not sure, but I'm giving this one 4 Harbaugh heads, that there is no accountability at the University of Michigan football team, FACK on that one. You guys know what that one means. Means it is a pretty much guarantee. Shouldn't be a surprise to you. Want to kind of dive a little bit deeper into this story, kind of pick it apart, unpack it a little bit. Let's just take a look since the season's end, really just let's say since the Ohio State game has ended, the departures from this football team. Donovan Peoples-Jones, just in the past few days, declared for the NFL draft. Some people have him going as low as the 5th or 6th round. Others say maybe he can sneak into the 2nd or 3rd round. I would probably guess somewhere in the middle, 4th, upper part of the 5th. Tariq Black would have been a surefire starter, probably, right? He decides to transfer. He won't have to sit out, though, because he graduated. Cesar Ruiz is going to go pro after 3 seasons at the University of Michigan. And how about Steven Spinellis, that won the hearts and minds of Michigan fans everywhere when he blocked that Notre Dame player all the way out of bounds for 20 yards off the field, decides to transfer and not come back for his 5th season, where he probably would have been a pretty likely chance to start next season on the offensive line. So surprising one there from an upperclassman player. Let's go over to the defensive side of the ball. Josh Uche. I don't think of all these players, I think Uche is the one I have the least doubt that there was something going on, or he had his eye on leaving the entire season. Maybe was dogging it a few times. Like we've told you in the show, there have been whisperings about some of the players that maybe we just showed you, some of those offensive skill position players. Jordan Anthony never really lived up to his top 50 player in the country billing coming out of IMG Academy 3 seasons ago. And how about Michael Dwumfour? I'm putting a question mark on him because no one announced that he was not going to be playing in the bowl game. Michigan didn't disclose it, and that's fine. Michigan doesn't like to give out injury news, and they're not really proactive about that. But when the blog boys and the local beat writers who want to go down to Florida and sip their cocktails and play Pop-A-Shot at Disney World with the football players, when they don't even realize Dwumfour is not there, and then he posts on his social media that he's the Lions game 3 days before the Michigan-Alabama game, Michigan gives out this, hastily written press release that he got an operation, and then just a couple days after that, the day before the Michigan football game, take a look at this tweet from Michael Dwumfour. 2020, it's time to do what's best for you, right? And don't look back. I'm not a mind reader here, but that seems pretty obvious. Like Michael Dwumfour elected to get an operation, which frankly, I'm not going to talk about someone's medical issues, but there's nothing about Michael Dwumfour's situation that screams that this was a pre-planned thing. I think something's going on here. I think he maybe indicated that he was going to look elsewhere for a 5th year, given that he can transfer as a grad transfer. No accountability for Michigan. And now there are rumors of guys who potentially, at least Chuck Filiaga, you see down there at the bottom of the screen, could be maybe a shoo-in to start next year. I'm not sure if there's a 5 candidates better than him on the offensive line. And Donovan Jeter, who has really underperformed, but was seen as maybe a vocal leader of the team in the past couple off seasons. So that's the word. You heard it from Ambry Thomas. We take a look at the guys who have departed. Is there a little bit of additions by subtraction going on with this Michigan football program, with some guys leaving early, transferring, or just some players that have been in the starting lineup for a few years that weren't getting it done, but had no risk of losing their starting position? As I know some of you guys are going to say, what about Shea Patterson? We're not going there, okay? This is still Team Shea. So a little bit of addition by subtraction is what I think that Ambry Thomas was pointing to. I think he's excited to get on the seniors, as a senior, be a leader of the team, and thought the guys that were starting and playing and being captain the last couple seasons, maybe they didn't have it. But that is the story on the Ambry Thomas quote that we had for you right there. I'm going to ask you guys a favor, because I get a ton of action and people tweet at me all the time, and I get a couple million, 3 million sometimes impressions of my tweets, but I'm not getting that many followers. And some of the coworkers here at Chat Sports, they're looking down at me with shame. So I said to them, you know what, Michigan Football Report, I just don't ask for it. They'll do it. They want to get awesome Michigan football stats, info, breaking news. We do it on Twitter. We do it elsewhere too, but Twitter sometimes is the easiest to distribute it out to the most amount of people. So help me get to 5,000 followers in the next couple weeks, so I don't get made fun of anymore. I'm at 4787. That's just 25 of you from this show. Get me to 5,000, but 25 of you from this show watching at James Yoder. I would really appreciate it. And if you shoot me a message, James, followed you from watching on YouTube, I'll give you a shout out on the next show. That's the ask for you guys. Going to play that clip from Ambry Thomas here on the Michigan football program's accountability issues right now.
Going into next year, I see what we really have to work on and what has to be brought to light. Like, everyone has to get held accountable on their mistakes, and that's something like we really didn't do this year. When somebody mess up, we usually say, okay, next play. We never get back to it, but everyone has to be held accountable. And next season, that's just something like we really have to emphasize.
Peoples-Jones, Tariq Black, they're gone. DPJ to the NFL. Tariq Black will transfer. Here's what I have as my early, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days now after the bowl game lost to Alabama, early 2020 wide receiver depth chart. Nico Collins will be the wide receiver 1, although might be surprising to some people. Maybe it's not that surprising, but he was not the leading wide receiver this year in yards and catches. That was Ronnie Bell, the true sophomore 2-star player out of the state of Kansas, who had a really nice season, and for my money was the offensive MVP in the 2020-19 season. And then Giles Jackson, I think the guy is a star in the making, especially when he has the ball in his hands. You see the backups there, including one A.J. Henning, who had a really nice showing in the All-American games over the past couple weeks. But I want to ask you guys this question. You might get an ad break here on YouTube, so if you do, scroll down, answer the question on the screen. What is your one word to describe Donovan Peoples-Jones' career at Michigan? Scroll down. We're going to pin this in the comment section. Answer below right now. My word is underwhelming, to be frank. I like DPJ. I thought he had some really nice moves, but plays. But the stats just weren't there. The impact plays and the negative plays certainly were there. So underwhelming for DPJ. How about Anthony Campanile? No one knows how to pronounce his name. I've actually heard Michigan football coaches pronounce it 3 different ways in the past couple days, listening to different videos out there pronouncing his name. But may he actually stay? Seemed like he was a foregone conclusion to leave the program after 1 year, giving it 2 Harbaugh heads. Let's just walk through a little bit of a timeline on Campanile. He's been rumored for the past week and a half, along with Chris Partridge, who did take the defensive coordinator job at Ole Miss, looking for a D coordinator job. Going back to maybe his roots on the East Coast, Boston College went after him heavy. You saw me put it out on all of our social media accounts, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube community, Facebook, that they had offered him the job reportedly on Saturday, right? Then he has a day or so to give a yes. Apparently had some, cold feet, didn't immediately accept the job offer. BC moved on very quickly. They offered the job to somebody else. Tim LaCuba, did I say that right? Tem LaCuba from the Cincinnati Bengals, their linebackers coach. He's going to be the DC at Boston College. So Michigan's linebackers coach not taking that job with the new head coach coming over from Ohio State, their co-defensive coordinator. So he's still on staff at Michigan, but now the question remains out there, will he take the job as defensive coordinator under Greg Schiano at Rutgers, where his brother, Nunzio, what a great name right out of the Sopranos, Nunzio Campanile, was the interim coach after they fired their coach midseason. Could he get that D coordinator job or a co-D coordinator job? He's making $415K this year, but the Michigan defensive staff has come under scrutiny recently, and they've already lost one member of that staff, a great recruiter in Chris Partridge, coaching the safeties. You've got 4 guys still on staff now. Don Brown, 4th season, he just finished up, will be going his 5th year as defensive coordinator. As of now, is still the D coordinator. Sean Nua finishing up his 1st season. Anthony Campanile, who knows? I'm just going to say Anthony C from now on. How about just this? Coach Camp, 1st season, so 2 guys in their 1st season, and then Mike Zordich has been there all 5 years with Jim Harbaugh coaching the cornerbacks. It's a defense that had a nice year, but really didn't show up when it needed to in the biggest moments, in the biggest games. All game against Ohio State, first half against Wisconsin, first half against Penn State, and really when it counted in the second half against a Tua-less Alabama team. So I'm giving it 2 Harbaugh heads. I would have said it's 3.5 that he was gone just a couple days ago, maybe on Sunday. But as of now, it seems like there may be some money opportunities where Michigan can get back in the game by giving him a raise. And obviously Boston College is not going to pay the biggest salaries. Obviously Rutgers won't either. So can Michigan's position coach match a D coordinator at a smaller Power 5 school like Rutgers? Maybe. So we'll see how this plays out over the next few days. I expect it to fully play out by Friday at the latest, but we'll see what is going on there. I want to make sure you guys take advantage of some of these post-holiday sales on Michigan football gear. The last show, when I was just kind of a little depressed, I was rocking that big block Michigan M. It's only $15 right now, 50% off. Or you can get the alternative version of the shirt I'm wearing now. This amazing Michigan football coaches shirt is on sale now. This thing's only like $40 now. It's usually $70, so big time discount there. Chatsports.com/Michigan6 for that one, 30% off-ish right now. Or you can get a Michigan football jersey. The #1 jersey is on sale now. All Michigan sale items, you can go to chatsports.com/blue. We'll also put it down there in the description and the comments of this video to get those items. So take advantage now. Don't go into spring practice and next football year paying full price at the last minute. We're going to tell you about the sales all month long. All right, new year, new me, okay, and new you, and new Michigan football program, all right? I am not going to stand around and let carpetbaggers like that son of a gun, Justin Fields, say Michigan football doesn't take this Ohio State game as seriously as Ohio State does. So it's 2020, it's an election year, and you're going to see red if you're watching this show because you're going to think about Ohio State every day of the year, just like I know they're thinking about Michigan. So we got a slogan for this show this year: beat Ohio State again, folks. Beat Ohio State again. Bosa, ironically. But Michigan will care more about the game than they ever have before. If Jim Harbaugh doesn't have this up by the end of the day in his office, I don't know what that says about the future, but I'm going to tell you what, you're not going to forget about it. I'm not going to forget about it. You're going to know everything Ohio State's doing. You're going to know every recruit they get. You're going to know every player that might be drinking late at the bars, all from this show. And you see the countdown clock. That's living in your minds going forward watching the show. Beat Ohio State again. As taping this Tuesday afternoon, 325 days, 20 hours, and just over 30 minutes. You see the seconds are ticking down. I'm going to get down and do some push-ups right after this segment to get ready for this game. Some Ohio State news here. Lost 3 players of a potential like 7 or 8 they could have. The biggest 3, though. Jeff Okudah, probably the best cornerback in the country, maybe a top 5 pick. Chase Young, likely to go in the top 2 or 3 picks in the NFL draft. And then J.K. Dobbins, amazing career for him. #1 running back in Ohio State history. Late first, early second round pick is where I've pegged him as of now. But the Buckeyes do have quite a few players returning in 2020 that had the opportunity to head to the NFL draft. 3 offensive linemen, Josh Myers, Wyatt Davis, Thayer Munford, and then, of course, Shaun Wade, who I believe would have been a surefire first-round pick. got kicked out of the Clemson game, and admittedly, I believe it was a bad targeting call. Maybe it's a bad targeting rule. Nevertheless, I don't think the intent was to go helmet. He's coming back for 2020. I believe he'll be the best corner in the country, might be the best defensive player in the country. So Ohio State, although they lose their three biggest players out of that 2017 recruiting class, do have some firepower coming back for the 2020 season. So that's your Ohio State update. I don't think Michigan fans have been taking this game seriously enough. And I think you guys are going to start proving it, that we're taking it more seriously this year. Can't let another loss happen. I want you to type Beat Ohio State. If you care more than Ohio State does, type Beat Ohio State in the comments. I want that clock to be burned into your retinas all off season long, 325 days. I want you guys going to the batting cages with your Michigan football helmet on and just taking baseballs to the chest at 65 miles per hour. Got to get ready for football season. Only 325 days left to beat the Ohio State Buckeyes. The team that did beat them, the Clemson Tigers, will face off against LSU on Monday night. Make sure you guys know the betting action on that one. Over under 69, the combined points of those two teams. That's 69. And then LSU's the favorite by 5.5 points. If you're new, better to the game. If LSU wins by 6, they cover the spread. They win by less than 6, they don't cover the spread. So it depends on which line you want to take. If you do want to put money in the game, make it a little more interesting, go get started with our partners, BetDSI. Use that promo code GOBLUE at chatsports.com/bet. You'll get a 120% deposit bonus. Act now. The deposit bonus might be going away. You put in $100, you get an extra $120 sitting in your account to bet there. You can put up to $500 to get a free $600 to bet on college football. Just one game left. NFL playoffs, NBA all year long. BetDSI at chatsports.com/bet. Next rumor up, our last in this rumor 3-pack. I have it on good authority that Michigan quarterbacks coach Ben McDaniels has a standing offer, and it is expected, so I'm giving it 3 Harbaugh heads, to head to the NFL if his brother, more famous brother, Josh McDaniels, longtime Patriots offensive coordinator in a couple different stints, former Denver Broncos head coach, if Josh gets an NFL head coach job. But I guess there's only one left, right? So I guess if Josh takes the Browns job, then Ben will be 2 hours and 45 minutes southeast of Ann Arbor in Cleveland, Ohio. So if Josh gets an NFL job, one left as of filming this, if he gets that Browns job, which he's expected to interview, Tom, is Josh McDaniels interviewing for the Browns job today, tomorrow? Friday, interviewing for it Friday. If he were to get that job, potentially Ben, his brother, would be his first call to come in and probably be the quarterback's coach. Maybe he gives him an inflated title like passing game coordinator. I don't think Ben's proven enough in his career to get an offensive coordinator title, but keep an eye out for that one. Michigan may be replacing as many as 3 coaches, with Chris Partridge heading to Ole Miss, Coach Camp, we'll see what happens to him, Ben McDaniels, and I'll tell you what, Don Brown, he probably shouldn't come back, but nevertheless, that is the word on Ben McDaniels. See if his brother gets that Brown job. He might be out the door. But whoever's coaching the Michigan football offense, whoever's throwing to their quarterbacks, whoever's throwing to those wide receivers next year is going to be under a lot of scrutiny. And I think this is going to be one of the most interesting off seasons I can remember as a Michigan football fan, or the king of Michigan football media. Title maybe changing soon. We'll talk about that next week. If you think it's going to be Dylan McCaffrey next year, being the starting quarterback, type DM below. I want to get a pulse for you guys, what you guys are thinking about this offseason quarterback battle. I think a lot of you guys are just Joe Milton fans for some reason. I'm typing DM. I do think it's going to be Dylan McCaffrey. Want to know what you guys think. DM or JM. Let's see who's winning the offseason quarterback battle in the minds of the Michigan football fans. Thanks so much for watching, folks. It's 2020. Make sure you're thinking about the Ohio State game, and make sure you don't miss a single episode of the show by hitting this big subscribe button. Michigan Football Report. Subscribe. You'll never miss an episode. And since you're here, got a couple more Michigan football videos for you from the Michigan Football Report. Go ahead and watch them right now. Go Blue!